Hi everyone. First I want to talk about the artifact. I think that will be the easiest for me to get into before the content because I have a lot to say about the content. I guess I have two artifacts, but it's really mainly just one, which I'm recording with, which is my phone. In one of the videos, there was a man in the booth commenting on one of the games on Indiana, and I was looking at the microphone thinking about journalism. I received my associate's degree in journalism at COC in California years ago in 2022, I think, before I came here, or 23. So journalism is a really big deal to me because it's what I've wanted to be since I've grown up. I just recently took the education route, but before that, I really talked about journalism. So the microphone was huge for me because of you're commenting on the game, you're looking at the progress, commenting on the quarterbacks, touchdowns, interceptions, whatever it may be. Also headphones too, because you need to be able to hear what other people are saying. So the headphones would be one of the artifacts, and then my phone as a microphone, to do interviews or whatever the case may be. Moving on to the content, I want to really talk about the first video and the second video. The first video was an edit, which was really, really nice. It gave a motivational feel when it comes to Indiana and looking at where they were and where they have come from. But it's really the second video that hit home for me, because looking at all the resources that we were given and looking at that video in specific, Indiana has really come a long way. They came off of over 700 losses, and the team was just really demotivated. The coach was lost, and he was trying to figure out where they came from in terms of being in a rut. And that's where they got Cignetti, the coach now. And he mentioned that when he got there, he felt like there was no hope, like it was just lost, because he walked in, the facilities were dirty, the places for the athletes were not put together. So it was just like, how can I do this, And then they saw the one clip where he mentioned, Google me, because I win, which I was like, that's very interesting. So to see that Indiana was in such a place of being lost and, no faith, to being where they are now, being the first team to go 16-0 since the 1800s is crazy. And then to win the national championship is like insane to me. But I also want to touch on one of the articles talking about revenue and players being paid money. One video mentioned that Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback, was being paid $2 million, and then he mentioned how he was so against that before and that he was contradicting himself because now he's the person getting paid. And then Cignetti, Indiana's paying him, I think it was $90 million for a 9-year contract, I think, which is insane, but the work does speak for itself. So in the article, it was talking about revenue. This comes from sponsorships, this comes from the media, this comes from fans, ticket sales. This is all funded to help the school when it comes to athletics and academia. There was a video I saw on Instagram, I think it was the director of the school. She mentioned that Indiana is a known school for its academics, and that's true, but they're mostly an athletic school, which is interesting to me because, you weren't athletics before. I mean, you were with basketball, but you just recently became big with football. So she said that she could mention how Indiana is doing well in academics and this and that, but that they're mainly known for being an athletic school. And I thought it was interesting because fans are the ones who bring in the revenue, because you have to buy merch that goes to the school, ticket sales that goes to the school, Fox and ESPN wanting to stream football games, that goes to the school. So it's interesting to look at it from the aspect of Miami as well, because Miami wasn't where Indiana was. Indiana was known as a team that was at the bottom. People were barely in the stands for their games. But with Miami, they've won championships before. They were fighting to regain that title. They were known as one of like the toughest teams within the SEC. And for it to be Miami being a number 10 seed going against Indiana, the team that's been undefeated, it's like it was such a monumental moment for both teams. in two different aspects. Then there's also the aspects of politics, and then there's Trump. There was a video of Trump going to a UFC match, and then at the game last night, he shows up on the screen once, and that's it. I think that is a lot to, think about. They showed him once, and that was it. Why, which I think is good, because I personally want all of my attention to be focused on the game. I'm rooting for Indiana. I want them to win. It's been coming so long, and you can see it in the coach. You can see it in Mendoza. You can see it in the team. I think one of the biggest reasons why they were able to win this championship is because, it was a fight. It was teamwork. It was believing in yourself, having the right coach. Cignetti came in with one mindset in mind, which was to win, and that's what he did. But it's not just about winning, So I think with this entire national football championship, it's a big lesson, but it's also something to look into from the academic side and the academic aspect of things. Indiana wasn't the best team, but now they're the number one team. They just won the national championship. Indiana fought hard, and they deserve it. Miami fought hard, you have to give credit where credit is due. They came to be a great team. Both teams did well. So this is my, opinion on football and Miami and Indiana. And yeah, go Hoosiers.